I have published a new book on influencer marketing strategy. If anybody's interested in buying a book, I know some people have already done that, so thank you. I'm off to Brazil actually on Wednesday, which is very exciting because the publisher, the Portuguese version of this is being published. You know, when I first had my book launch, Homegrown were very kind enough to host the event, but of course it was in lockdown. So of course we had to do it all online, and it still was an amazing event. So I just want to say thank you to Jessica and the team. You'll also notice from my two friends here that whilst we've got Amber, who has been fabulous and is featured heavily in my book, Alex sadly couldn't join us today. She was on the billing, Authentic Alex. But Tony, who is the Chief Exec of Audience and Media, has stepped in at the last minute. So I think you're going to find his insight very, very interesting. It's very informal, and we're going to ask the guys some questions. We're going to talk together about influencer marketing. But also, we really want you to ask some questions as well. Things that you're not sure about, or you'd like clarification on, then please do. So if I start with you, Amber, in fact you have just come from a press launch, not a press launch, a movie premiere.
Yeah, I don't normally dress like this, I promise. I feel so overdressed right now.
So tell us what it is.
So it was the global premiere for Pistol, which is like a brand new Disney Plus TV series about the Sex Pistols. Super exciting. Danny Boyle was there, the cast were there. Then I literally sprinted right here, so if I'm a bit shiny, I apologise.
So it's really nice to see you here. And just before I introduce Tony, you've done a lot in comedy, haven't you? So you've not only worked with a lot of interesting brands. Tell us a little bit about what you've done in terms of influencer marketing.
Yeah, so I started creating content online about 5 years ago now. It's flown by so quickly, but about 5 years. I started by writing and producing original comedy sketches, which I posted on Facebook, Instagram, eventually TikTok. In that time, I have amassed over 3 million combined online followers. I've worked with about 300 global brands, branched out into acting, presenting, celebrity interviews. So I've interviewed people from like Arnold Schwarzenegger to Al Gore, former Vice President of America, which was a crazy day. Found out about an hour before the interview. So it's been an absolute whirlwind. I've been very blessed to work with a lot of incredible brands. I like to think I've got a good amount of experience on that. So if you have any questions, fire away.
That's great, lovely. Thank you, Amber. And then Tony, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
My background has been in technology. Built a company called Audience Media in 2009. It's proprietary technology which allows us to target audiences online based on their behaviours and interests in real time. And recently, since 2018, we've officially built the largest influencer marketing platform, and currently we just have over 108 million profiles within our platform, and that includes data on the influencer themselves to see their credibility, as well as data on their followers, which is most important to us.
Yeah, that's great. So let me ask the first question, which I think is very poignant. What do you guys think? If I start with you, Amber, what do you think are some of the qualities in a successful influencer?
Oh, there's too many to list out. I think the key one is persistence and hard work and just keeping at it. I think, especially nowadays with like TikTok, people think it's really easy to become an overnight success. And don't get me wrong, there are people who have become an overnight success, and don't get me wrong, I'm a bit jealous, like that's incredible. But for most of us, we're talking like 5 to 10 years of hard work every single day, like sometimes 20-hour days, no days off on weekends, constant hard work to get to even maybe 100,000 followers and get your first paid brand deal. It is a tough journey, but it's really, really worth it. So I think being hardworking is probably the most important thing. Also being really creative. I think you need to try and find your niche. A lot of people say this, like, creating general content is fine, but you need to kind of niche down, figure out exactly what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that you can showcase, and use something, try to use your creativity to be a little bit different. You want to bring something different to make people want to follow you that can't already be found out there. That was a few different things, but yeah.
And what about sort of authenticity? Because I think that's such a really important point. People want to find something they can relate to, can't they? You know, I think that's so important. And Tony, what other sort of qualities do you think?
Well, I learnt this from you actually. Well, there's three things. Inspire, so the content creator needs to inspire their audience, educate the audience, and entertain. And when you've got these kind of three components regarding the content you're creating, you're going to win, and you're going to get followers because you're engaging them. But importantly, from my perspective, from an advertising perspective, I'm more looking at the credibility. And what I mean about credibility of the influencer is that they haven't purchased fake followers, that they've had organic growth, their content is consistent, it's not, like Amber's saying, that the content has a purpose. Because there's so many Instagrammers we've seen who take selfies and look at me over here, and it's kind of boring. Brands don't really buy into that. So when we're working with brands, it's basically their credibility, their reachability. If they've got 100,000 followers or more, how many of those people are actually going to see the post? So how many of those followers are following thousands of accounts versus few accounts, where they're most likely going to see the content?
Yeah.
So we look at numerous factors within our system as well.
I think the other thing I think is interesting as well is good influencers or content creators have got a good understanding of the numbers, haven't they? They understand their insights. It's not like, they just stick a photo up and hope that it's going to succeed. They almost know what's going to work well. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I think people tend to forget. And as you rightly say, it's not an overnight success. The amount of people say to me, I want to be a successful influencer, but there's a lot that goes into it. So I think insights is good, and quality content. They've really got to be good at what they do and be consistent at that. What would you actually say in terms of posting? Average posting. I mean, how many posts do you do? Let's just take Instagram. How many posts a week would you do on Instagram, or stories, or reels?
Stories I like to post every day. I think they say 8 is the ideal amount. I like to post between 3 to 8 story frames a day, just so people can see what I'm doing. So, for example, today, I'll post something from the premiere, I'll post something from now, just keep people updated with everything. I think it's nice as well to constantly have something on your story, so that no matter when someone clicks on, say it's 2 a.m. in the morning today or 3 o'clock on a Friday, there's always something there, because it shows that you're being proactive, it shows that you are regularly posting. I actually personally would rather someone posted more regularly on the stories than on the grid, because I find that stories are a lot more unfiltered and a lot more real, which as an influencer myself, but also watching other creators, that's what I actually prefer, because I think we can all agree, the grid feed is great, but it is polished. It's filtered. It's kind of this perfect view, whereas the stories are more natural. I try to post on my grid between 1 to 3 times a week. With the acting side at the moment, I'm quite busy with that, so it's a bit less regular. I know people who post every day, people who post reels every day, and I'd say if you're starting out, it's probably best to try and post on a daily basis. Get that consistency going so people know what to expect from you, and then it'll get to a point where, say you're posting at 6 p.m. every day, you'll have people waiting at 5:59 being like, what are you going to post next? And that's kind of how you create that loyal audience at the beginning, I think.
No, I think that's a really good point, actually. One of the things I often talk about is this weekly moment. And whatever your weekly moment is, it might be, I run a Facebook group, for example, which is for anybody knows that I've got a Facebook group? Okay, you can join my Facebook group. But the point is, I do a weekly round table, and it's always at 8:30 on a Wednesday. So I think the fact is I'm using that as a way of promoting and constantly doing that. It might well be that you want to upload a YouTube video, but it's at 9 o'clock on a Thursday.
That's what I do, yeah.
That's the way to do it. I'm absolutely convinced, because what you're trying to do is you'll prime your audience into what you're going to be doing. Good, interesting. And what do you think are some of the negative issues that I think people sometimes, that they don't know what goes on behind the scenes of influencers? What's the sort of things that for example, the BBC will often say, here's another Love Islander that has impacted us. What's your thoughts about that?
Do you want to take this one?
Amber, go for it.
Go for it.
Are you sure?
100%.
I have many thoughts about Love Island. Probably shouldn't go into them
is the
right
question
now.
about Love Island?
No, but I feel like that's a big part of the question. Are you sure you don't want to take this one?
No, I don't watch Love Island.
Me neither. I feel like there's quite a negative side to social media, and I feel like reality TV really hits that nail on the head. I feel like with some of these reality TV shows, people have the overnight success that I was talking about, where they'll go on a show and then all of a sudden they'll have 1 million followers. And the thing is, once you do have over a certain amount of followers, there are obviously some negative things which come with that. I mean, haters, online trolls, keyboard warriors. No matter who you are, no matter how many followers you've got, it's going to happen. And I think sometimes with, obviously you mentioned Love Island, when it is a quicker progression to that level of follower count, it's a lot more difficult. Like for me, I've had years to build up to the amount of followers I have now. And it's been, I'd say I probably reached my first 1 million followers in about a year, so it was quite quick. But over that time, I've learned how to deal with the negativity, how to learn from the hate. And I've kind of realized a lot of the time it's not actually people being hateful, it's that they've got something going on in their own life and it's their way of kind of lashing out without consequences. I don't even know if that's answering your question, but yeah, there are some negative things online, but there are ways of dealing with them.
No, absolutely. Okay, you know, when we talk about influence marketing, we often talk about B2C, which is the sort of the Instagram consumer, but there's been quite a big growth in what we call, and I know there's some individuals in the room here who will be interested in this question, which is all about B2B. So those are people where they wouldn't necessarily call themselves influencers. They may be speakers, they may be experts in fintech, for example. Where do you see the growth in the B2B influencer space?
Me?
Tony, yeah.
That's a good question. Influencer marketing is not just, like you're saying, it's not just B2C, it's B2B. We work with a pharmaceutical company called Ansell, and they have produced sort of high flex gloves for machine workers. So that's not going to us as a consumer. It's actually going to the machiner, workers, but heading to the procurement director or managers. So how do we target them in the right way? So we have to find influencers or content creators across all social media platforms. Which platform is actually more applicable to that specific sector? So would I use Amber to promote this high flex gloves? Probably not. It's more about someone who's actually a thought leader, who's probably on Twitter, or may not even have much of a social media presence, but is a reputable individual who could actually promote it to very few followers. And that's what counts, rather than having 1 million plus on Instagram, for example, or across, but it's targeted to that specific expert in that business sector.
Yeah. I mean, it was also something because you look at the follower numbers, we can so easily think, oh my goodness, this is a very successful influencer. Yeah. But of course, what goes on behind that could be all sorts of things. The data, of course, 80% of that could be in a different country, so totally irrelevant. And that's why one of the things I always say to people is, at the very least, if you haven't got access to that data, ask them for a media deck or a media pack, which is like a CV for the content creator world, isn't it? Yeah. Just on the data front, Tony, give us an example of some of the things that a typical influencer platform could provide for a company in terms of the data, what's available in terms of grandeur, what we can find out about somebody.
I think one of the best platforms out there, apart from ours, of course, is a company called Hype Auditor, and what they do is actually analyse profiles and their followers, pretty much what Audience Media does. And the key things which we're looking for in these tools or on the data is actually the credibility, the authenticity, that they haven't purchased followers. So for example, if there's a sudden spike of followers in one day, what caused that? Because that would be red alarm for us. But was there PR press? Was there something outside of it which actually drove that high engagement? So the granularity of data is going to be key. And I think the future of influencer marketing, when it comes to influencers, creator, content, the brands are investing in this channel because it works. Period. I wouldn't have been, we wouldn't be in this industry if we didn't believe in it. It's evident that this sector does drive revenue for businesses and launching brands, providing you're using the right people. Because what I'm about, sort of in my company, is more about understanding the audience rather than the influencer per se. Because what's more important? Because if we're going to collaborate with Amber, it's all about her followers, but she's the content creator. She's going to create great content, which is going to be brand safe, brand relevant, and in a culturally relevant way. Now, this is what the brands really need to focus on. We've got the data, we've got the technology and everything behind ourselves. We've got the creators who know their followers. Even if it's 10,000 or 1 million or 3 million, Amber knows, and I'm just using you as an example, you're going to know the followers. So she's going to know what makes them tick. And if they are relevant to the campaign, she's going to be the best judge of that. She'll either turn down the business and say, no, it's not going to happen. We can't do that. So what we look at is the actual evidence of the profiles which Amber has or any influencer has, and look at that from a very specific granularity. You know, where are they based, for example? Where are your customers? We can actually target people in Derby if the business wants to target people in Derby. You know, and so it just goes on.
And I think it's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, I know we did a campaign recently with a property company, and they wanted an influencer based in Malden, of all places. So, you know, if you think about it, the reason they wanted that was because what they were looking to do was to have somebody go into their new homes and promote this as it's no point in them living in Cornwall or in Scotland. They've got to be local to their area. Equally, other things, if you look at somebody's Instagram and you see somebody that's got 50,000 followers, you think, oh, this would be great. Well, how do you know that all those 50,000 are based in the UK? You know, 60% of those could be based in a different part of the world. Well, that's completely pointless in terms of targeted audience. Plus, you've got age profiles, you've got female, male demographics. If you think about a brand that you're trying to target, you can really niche down. And that's why I think influencer marketing is so successful in terms of ROI. When done well, I will say when done well. So TikTok, obviously that's a phenomenon that has grown. Who's on TikTok, by the way? Who is on TikTok? I'm on TikTok, right? You on TikTok, right? I find it quite addictive, I won't lie, I do.
It's very addictive.
But yeah, why? Why is it? What brands are pumping loads into TikTok now? In fact, I've just written an article for the Standard actually about trying to say to people it's not just an 18 to 24-year-old platform. You know, people are almost killing it outside of that age bracket because there's not a load of competition. In fact, one property developer friend of mine, he's absolutely doing amazing things. And all he's doing is just doing little video content around these new developments. But yeah. So tell me why it's been so successful in your view, because you've done well with it, haven't you?
I'm doing okay. So I think one of the reasons why TikTok is so successful, does anyone remember Vine back in the day? So that was like the first big viral success, and those were 7-second videos. As time's going on and people are kind of transitioning from watching traditional media to social media, I do think that people's attention spans are shortening. And with that, I say maybe in the early 2000s people would prefer YouTube, and I'd say that's where most of the traffic was going. So we're talking like 10-minute plus videos, 5-minute plus videos. And then it went to Facebook, where videos were maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And then TikTok came along, and videos are 15 to 30 seconds. And I just think as time goes along, people's attention spans are getting shorter, and different platforms are kind of rising to cater to that. So at the moment, people don't really want to watch things that are longer than 15 seconds. And even though you can upload videos on TikTok now that are, I think, 3 to 5 minutes, some of them, a lot of the big creators are uploading like 7-8 second videos and absolutely smashing it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. So it is all about attention span, isn't it?
I
Really,
think so,
it's about grabbing, and I think that's the challenge, isn't it, for content creators or any of us that are trying to run our own organisations or businesses, is how can I get them to stop from browsing? Yeah. And it's fascinating. Are you on TikTok?
Just for personal, just for learning about it, because it's part of the business.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this whole area of buying followers. You know, it's an area that I feel quite strongly about. You know, because, you know, if an individual is buying followers or views or shares or likes, it's almost like a sense of fraud, isn't it? Because they're saying that they're worth something more than they really are. And yet there's so much competition amongst individuals to have that sort of perfect score. What's your, Tony, I'll start with you. What's your view about this?
I think it's going to diminish over time, because technology players like themselves, we're analysing content all the time and influencers for brands. So with our technology, brands are going to get more savvy. And it's easy, you can just open up Instagram yourself and look at it, and you've got 250,000 followers and you've got 5 likes. There's something wrong here. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take a scientist to work that out, you know. So I'm seeing the future of that diminishing, and, you know, people who want to do that, they can. We've seen an influencer here based in London with a talent management company, and even the talent management company doesn't even know their own influencers they're managing. So hopefully there's no talent management companies there. Because they're lacking the data behind the people they're representing. And it just gets a bit upsetting because it's such a great industry with people, highly credible influencers and content creators like Amber, versus people who just want to get that overnight success.
Yeah.
And let me go and buy loads of followers and likes and don't I look great? But it's brands are getting more savvy. That's all I'm saying. If they're not, they're losing money left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
And I think with the startup world in the UK or globally, we've got offices in Asia, and we look at how aggressive companies are about who they're working with, who their influencers are, or creators. It's actually getting to that. It's accelerating so quickly that we need to then deliver such a high level of service and credible influencers or content creators for the brand, to make sure that these guys are perfect for you. They're brand safe, they're credible. There's so many other factors involved in it, in selecting it. And where brands go and do it themselves or bring it in-house, I've had many meetings with brands where they say, no, we're fine, we can do this in-house. Well, that's great because you're lacking on the data. You're lacking out because, this influence looks really great, and it's on fashion, it's in lifestyle. And I just think that's wrong, and they are losing money. Charlotte Tilbury is a brand where I've had a meeting with, and one of her top influencers is a lovely lady who I actually met, and we thought we'll just do a bit of research on her. Not that we shared it back to Charlotte Tilbury, is that she had about 300,000 followers on Instagram. 90% of her followers were male from Indonesia.
Wow.
And she's there taking pictures of Charlotte Tilbury, gorgeous girl, and what is that about? The brand is spending so much money on her.
That's crazy, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. And that's the sort of stuff that gives it a bad reputation. Because
That's the bad stuff.
there are so many amazing
But
content
you do
creators.
see, with all due respect, I think these content creators, these influencers, are sharpening up to that because they know it's not so easy anymore. So what we see on our system when we do the influencer search, we see that their likes are going down and their follower counts are going down because they're cleaning up their own profile.
Absolutely.
Because they have to. And I think that's what they should be doing anyway. And then they can demand the right price because there's companies out there like ourselves, we can benchmark pricing.
Yeah.
So if someone just comes in with £10,000 for a post, we're like saying, who are you? Like, are you serious? What work are you going to do? But it's actually using all that data to actually support what we do for the brand.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned price because that was one of my next questions. I'm guessing some of the people that haven't used influencers too much don't know what the going rate is for posts and stories and stuff like that and videos. And I know we're going to probably say, well, it's like it can vary on so many different things. But I think it'd be quite interesting to give a little bit of an idea, particularly for members of the audience. What sort of posts have you done that maybe, if you're able to sort of share any indication of price points or something similar?
I don't think my accountants would be too happy with
Or
that.
somebody else, another influencer that could earn this and stuff like that. Yeah. Or just give us some guidance around that.
I think one of the great things about influencer marketing is that whatever your budget is, there would be an influencer for you. Like, I know people who have like 5,000 followers and they will do posts for £20, £25, you get a video that's great. I know people with 1 million followers who get £10,000 for a post. It really is a range. And I think this is kind of coming off the back of what you were just saying as well. I feel like a few years ago, brands were going to influencers just for the follower count, which is fine. But now I feel like times are changing and you could have 2 people with the same follower count, but they really want to know about engagement now. So say you've got 2 people with 200,000 followers, they wouldn't charge the same amount if they've got different engagement rates. So say if someone has, I think they actually say once you get over 100,000 followers, the average engagement rate is actually around 3%, which is crazy low. But it's just how social media works, and pretty much everyone on the planet with that many followers is the same. But then say you have someone who's got like 50% engagement rate, obviously their rate is going to be way higher because the return that you're going to get is so much higher.
Yeah.
So I can't give you a fixed answer. £25 to tens of thousands of pounds is my answer.
But also, I was going to say, just to add to that, the more niche, you have somebody that literally has only a couple of thousand followers, but if they're a really, really specialist, like
in the B2B sector.
In the B2B sector, it's somebody very, very, very niche. It could be a tech expert on a particular type of product or something could command a way higher price than somebody that has got a much broader range. So my advice to you guys is always do stuff that's niche as much as possible. Do you want to just add to that in terms of pricing?
Yeah, sure. We work with thousands of content creators, influencers all over the world actually, but mainly in Asia and UK and the US. And the price is pretty close to what Anne was saying. It really depends on where you're going by. It ranges from gifting, free, and they're just going to do it to build up their career, which we work with real nano influencers. And then you've got people like a celebrity where you think, oh my God, this celebrity is going to cost an arm and a leg. When we approached Amir Khan, he only cost a few £1,000s, and he did a lot of work. I mean, working with someone like him, like a boxer, and you're telling him to read a script, that's the rule number one. You don't tell a boxer to read a script. That's just not going to work. And his content was like, you could see his eyes moving like this. So you can understand his price point. But the price range really varies, like, into the tens of thousands. We're working with a YouTuber right now in the History Channel area, and he's costing £10,000 per mention or post. And that's incredible. He's got about 500,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube, but his content is so good that we got it signed off at £10,000. And that's just one.
And you know why? It's because at the end of the day, what lots of companies now want is they don't just want always brand awareness, they want performance. And if you can find an individual, a YouTuber or somebody that's actually got great performance metrics, so they're driving people to your website and they're selling products at the end of it, it's great. Okay, let's just talk about how you can use influencers. What are the types of things? We talked a bit about stories. What other, share with me some campaigns that you've perhaps worked on that might be of interest, if you might.
Do you want to go first?
Amber, you talk.
So I feel like there's so many different ways that brands can work with influencers. The biggest one is definitely social media, so we're talking sponsored posts, stories, videos, brand takeovers. I've done that quite a lot where, for example, like Lionsgate, when they have a new film coming out, sometimes I'll take over their Instagram and host a live stream, interview either people from the film or fans just having a chat. I think that's quite a nice thing to do. I mentioned earlier that I do some celebrity interviews. Again, that's kind of through the influencer side, and again, it's for movie production studios. And it's just getting eyeballs on the film. Like, again, they're very interested in views, so normally they want like hundreds of thousands of views to kind of push people towards the film. There's so many different things. I've seen people creating like merchandise lines in collaboration with a store. I've seen a lot of YouTubers do that actually, and that normally does really, really well. I'd say personally for me it is mainly social media posts, but there are just so many different areas. Also keynote speakers. I did one of the keynote speeches at the first VidCon in London, and I'm seeing influencers and content creators being keynote speakers at a range of other events as well, which I never really expected because I didn't really think people would find us that interesting, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think there's many different ways that you can work with influencers.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to add to that. I've definitely seen a growth in keynotes and in panels, and often what will happen is they'll bring their own audience with them. Podcasts, of course.
We've seen a huge explosion in live streaming.
So
we work with Alibaba in Asia, which is Lazada, which is like the Amazon there, and we've got over 1,000 content creators streaming live. And this is how hard it is for these people working in Asia and all respect them. They have to do this just on this campaign. 30 minutes of live streaming, of selling products in your own home, which can be purchased on Lazada, which is like the Amazon equivalent. And they get paid not much. It's unbelievable. Just the explosion of, whether Amazon's doing it in the UK, which they are, and you're just seeing people now. It's like QVC, I don't know if you all remember that Teleshop TV channel, is now going online on the social media saying like, oh, this glass is amazing, it's got a great sound and I drink from it. It's absolutely crazy. The content is crazy, live streaming, but they're vetted as well. So you can't just go and do a live stream. They're actually vetted by us, all the clients, saying, well, no, the personality is not right, they can't sell. So it's becoming, really vetted to the 10th degree of who's going to be good at live streaming, because everyone's going to stay up all night and just record 30 minutes of products around their house, which can be purchased online
and
make £200, £500, in one day. So they'll stay up all night and do it. It's absolutely bizarre.
It's crazy.
May I add something to this?
Yes, do.
So TikTok, are there any creators in here by any chance?
Yes.
Right, TikTok creators? Okay, TikTok Marketplace.
Not yet.
Let me explain this real quick. So there's something called TikTok Marketplace, which is amazing. Brands go on there, they can upload different campaigns, and then they contact creators directly. So instead of, like I'd say maybe 90% of the brand deals that I do are through people emailing me, either through my website or my social media. But what I like about TikTok Marketplace is that it's all in one place on the platform. But just carrying on from what you've said, they've brought out something new called TikTok Shop, which is quite new, quite exciting, and it's exactly what we've just been talking about. So they will say, right, we want you to kind of sell this product on a live stream instead of doing, like for me, instead of writing a comedy sketch around it, just do like a 30-minute live stream and just, it's basically product placement, but obviously using the appropriate ad disclosures, but obviously you have to be vetted by the brand and there's a whole process. But I just feel like that's really interesting because I've seen so many Asian platforms doing it. And in America, I feel like England's a bit slow on that, so it's nice to see them moving forward with it.
UK is falling far behind.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Well, I don't want to say.
But
Good. Well, I hope you found that interesting and hopefully enlightening. Jessica, am I right? We're going to go upstairs now, aren't we, to see the wonderful Homegrown, which is a nice little cocktail bar, and chill out there and enjoy, meet new connections. But thank you very much, Jessica, for hosting. I want to say thank you also to Five Rivers Rum. Where is he? Now, Alex, is he there? And thanks.
Incredible
Thanks.
panel.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Gordon. Thank you for making it happen. Brilliant. Looking forward to seeing you all upstairs, and give us a shout if you've got any questions.